when a group of motorcyclists intimidates an old woman on a deserted road. They think she's just a frail grandmother who can be easily scared. But they're dead wrong. In an instant, the night turns into a nightmare for them. Who is this woman really? And why do they feel increasingly trapped? Drizzle dampens the cracked asphalt. The streets on the outskirts of the city are quiet, illuminated only by flickering streetlights that seem almost dead. The scent of wet earth mingles with exhaust fumes in the air. At the end of the road, the sound of a motorcycle exhaust breaks the silence. For young men in leather jackets and black helmets ride their bikes at a moderate speed, joking roughly with each other. They've just come out of a small bar downtown, still drunk with victory after winning a street race bet. Then they see her. An old woman walks alone on the sidewalk, wearing a thick coat and a gray scarf. Her body is thin, her pace slow, and from a distance, she looks like an ordinary grandmother just returning from the market or a relative's house. One of the riders, called Roni, grins. Hey, look at that. An old lady all alone at this hour? Isn't that dangerous? His friend, Benny, laughs roughly. Maybe she's a witch. Be careful, or we'll get cursed. They all laugh. Just joking. Just having fun. They have no ill intentions, or at least that's what they think. Roni revs his motorcycle, approaching the old woman. Granny, do you want us to take you home? It's dangerous to walk at night. The old woman doesn't turn. She keeps walking, as if she can't hear them. Benny and two of his friends, Daika and Anton, move closer, surrounding her like a pack of wolves stalking their prey. Oi, Granny, Anton shouts. We're talking to you, not a ghost. The woman finally stops. But she still doesn't turn. The night wind blows fiercely, making her scarf flutter slightly. There's something strange in the sudden silence that envelopes them. Roni gets off his motorcycle and takes a few steps closer. Is the granny deaf? Or scared? Suddenly, the old woman speaks. Her voice is soft but cold, like the whisper of wind in a graveyard. You shouldn't be here. Benny laughs mockingly. What, Granny? This is a public road, not your home. But then he feels something, a strange pressure in the air. As if the oxygen around them thickens, heavy, making it hard to breathe. Daika furrows his brow. Why is it suddenly so cold? Anton rubs his suddenly goosebumped arm. Maybe it's the rain. But the rain isn't falling anymore. The sky is overcast, but there's no sound of raindrops. The road is wet, but there's no splashing sound as they move. Roni, usually brave, feels something he's never felt before, a fear pressing against his chest. The old woman finally turns slowly, and as her face becomes visible, they all take a step back. She doesn't look like an ordinary grandmother. The old woman's eyes are pitch black, with no whites at all. Her skin is too pale, almost like wax. Her lips are dry and slightly curled in an unnatural thin smile. Run, she says in a voice deeper than before, but none of them can move. Then, the streetlight above them goes out, darkness, and in that darkness, something moves. They can hear breathing. Breathing that isn't theirs. Benny tries to scream, but no sound comes out. Roni tries to turn and run, but his body feels paralyzed. Then, the whispering voice comes. Run if you can. Then, something attacks from the darkness. They thought the old woman was just an easy target, someone they could intimidate for fun. But as the streetlight goes out and darkness envelopes them, they realize something terrifying. They can't move, they can't run, and something is lurking in the darkness. Who is this old woman really? And can they still escape alive from here? Dark, Cold. Something moves among them. Benny feels his breath quickening, his heart pounding like a hammer against his chest. He tries to move his legs, but his body is frozen, as if held by something invisible. Roni, his voice is barely audible, trembling. No answer. All that's left is the sound of long, heavy breaths. Breaths that don't belong to any of them. Then, a flash of lightning strikes the sky. In an instant, the flash illuminates the figure of the old woman, or something that now stands in her place. Her black eyes seem to glow in that brief light, and her face. Her face changes. Her skin is no longer human skin. It looks more like old, cracked bark, with deep gashes gaping like wounds. Her mouth is wider than it should be, grinning, revealing too many sharp teeth for an ordinary human, and her hands stretch out, her fingers grotesque, as if they are not human hands. But the claws of something that has existed long before they were born. Then, darkness envelopes them again. Roni! Benny screams in panic, but all that can be heard is the hissing sound behind him. Daika, who had been frozen, suddenly can move. He pulls out his phone, trying to turn on the flashlight. The small light from the phone screen flickers, then weakly lights up, enough to illuminate Anton's face. Anton stands next to him, or something they think is Anton. His eyes are empty. His mouth is open, but no sound comes out. Then his body falls. Their eyes widen as they realize something horrifying. Anton has no shadow. The light from the phone directed at his body should create a shadow on the ground. But there's none. Nothing at all. He's not Anton, Roni whispers hoarsely, and as Daika raises his phone again, the Anton who was lying there has vanished at no body. No trace at as if he never existed. Benny finally can move. He kicks his motorcycle, trying to start the engine. We have to get out of here. Now! Roni and Daika don't need to be told twice. They jump on their bikes and try to start the engines with trembling hands, but the engines won't start. They try again and again and again. Cold sweat drips down their temples. The old woman, or whatever she is now, stands a few meters away from them, silent, watching them. Her smile doesn't change. Then she speaks. You've come to the wrong place. Daika curses under his breath, trying with all his might to start his motorcycle. Finally, the engine roars to life, breaking the silence. Let's go. Benny and Roni also manage to start their bikes. Without thinking, they rev the engines and speed away from that place. But they don't realize they haven't really left. They've returned to the same place. Roni is the first to notice. Wait. This is the same place as before, right? They all slow down their bikes, looking around. The same road. The same trees. The same streetlight that is still off, and in front of them, in the place they should have left, the old woman is still standing there, still watching them, still grinning. Impossible, Benny whispers, his face pale. Daika looks back, making sure they just passed a long road. But what's behind them is just darkness. The road that was there has vanished. What's happening? Roni's voice is filled with panic. From a distance, they hear a small laugh. The old woman steps forward slowly. You can't leave, she says lightly, as if it's just a fact, not a threat. Daika presses the throttle of his motorcycle as hard as he can, trying to break through. But as soon as he passes the woman, he finds himself back in the same place, as if the road is in an endless loop. We're trapped, Benny mutters, his voice sounding like someone who has lost all hope. The woman steps closer. I told you, you shouldn't be here. And before they can say anything, the woman or the creature runs toward them, fast. Too fast, and as she touches them, the world goes black. The mystery of the old woman will be revealed, and the fate of the motorcyclists will be determined. Can they escape, or have they fallen into an unavoidable trap? Dark, silent, Roni opens his eyes. His head is buzzing. The world feels like it's spinning. He lies on the cold asphalt, his breath heavy. Next to him, Benny and Daika are sprawled out. No. What happened? He mutters as he tries to rise. He forces his body to move, but all his muscles feel stiff. Then he sees her. The old woman stands in front of them. Still the same. Her scarf flutters gently in the biting night wind, but now there's something else. Behind her, in the deep shadows, there are other figures, pale faces, empty black eyes. Their lips smile, but it's not a human smile. They surround the motorcyclists, slowly, as if waiting for something. Daika opens his eyes, then screams upon seeing them. What is this? What happened? Benny stumbles up, his face drenched in sweat. We have to go. But they can't move any further, because suddenly they remember everything. Roni gasps. His eyes widen. No, this can't be. He looks at the old woman, and finally, he knows who she really is. The woman is not a stranger. They know her. They're the ones who killed her 1 year ago. That night it rained heavily. The roads were slippery. 4 young men rode their motorcycles, laughing and shouting, speeding down the dark, deserted road. That's when they saw her, a woman walking alone, carrying shopping bags. Benny laughed. This granny walks so slowly. Ha ha ha. Wanna race, Granny? Daika joined in the laughter. Come on, let's make her run. Roni hesitated. Come on, don't bother the old lady. But Anton, who was still with them at the time, had a different idea. Let's scare her, he said, then revved his motorcycle, approaching the woman at high speed. The woman turned. Her eyes filled with fear. Too late. Crash! Anton's motorcycle hit her. The woman's body was thrown back, hitting the sidewalk with a horrifying sound. Blood pooled on the asphalt. They all fell silent. Anton got off his motorcycle, approaching the woman's lifeless body, not moving, not breathing. She's dead, Roni whispered. Benny panicked. We have to go. We can't get caught. Daika trembled. But we have to report to the police. Anton shook his head quickly. Are you crazy? If we get caught, we'll go to jail. We're leaving. Now. And they left her there, leaving the old woman's body in the pouring rain, leaving behind a secret that now haunts them again. Roni fell to his knees. No, this can't be. The old woman smiled. Finally, you remember. Daika cried. We didn't mean to. We were scared. Scared? Her voice sounded like thunder. Do you know what's more frightening? From the shadows behind her, one by one, those figures began to step forward. Anton is there, but his face is pale, his eyes empty. Anton, Benny gasps. But you're gone. Anton smiles. I'm not gone. I'm here. With them. The other figures begin to surround them. They all are the people who died on that road, the ones left behind, the ones who never got justice. Roni, Benny, and Daika slowly back away. Please, don't. Roni's voice is barely audible, but they can't run. Pale hands grip them one by one. Daika screams. Benny struggles. Roni curses, trying to break free. But it's futile. They are pulled into the darkness, and before everything completely disappears, the old woman whispers one last word, "Pay." Then, everything ends. Their motorcycles were found the next morning, but they themselves were never found. An old man living near that road shook his head as he watched the police haul away the abandoned bikes. Kids these days, always disappearing on that road, he muttered. A police officer asked, "Sir, what do you mean?" The old man looked at the deserted road, then whispered, "Many have gone missing there. All share the same sin. And the old woman, she is always waiting for the next ones."